Hi, I'm Ava Wright of Contemporary Art Globally Speaking here at Sonnabend Gallery in New York City, and I'm at the exhibition for Rona Pondick, the sculptor, and I am with Barbara MacAdam, the Deputy Editor of Art News. So Barbara, tell me about the contradictions in Rona's work. You've been following her work for a long time. Please tell me.
Well, I could begin with an anecdote that Rona once told me that I think is wonderful. One viewer commented, "Your work is kind of like my experience of oysters. On first viewing, it's really repellent, but then you can't have enough of it. It's like a sore tooth. Your tongue just keeps going there." And I think that's a lot of what is happening with Rona's work. The contradictions are what keep you completely engaged. You can't not be engaged. You can't walk by something and say, this is pretty, or something else, or this is awful. I mean, it forces you to engage. The shiny surfaces make you engage. The confusion, the many parts, you know, that you have to fill in the story. You can't help wanting to fill in the story. And all the while, there's Rona's head in all of these works, or another body part that really is subtly controlling your way of seeing her work and your response. So the work is, you know, it's both objective and it's intense. It's emotional, and at the same time, there is this face there that's completely inscrutable, like a sphinx.
Yes, and yet it is very intense. You look at her work and it can really baffle you, and it's very intense, and to some people, certain pieces would even look grotesque, and yet you look at them and you're transfixed by them. You can't just walk away.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is that, you know, so much when you look at it, it draws out of mythology. It's either her own mythology or traditional, you know, it's Egyptian mythology, it's everything else, and it comes from her looking at so much art, and she's very engaged in that kind of symbolism, but she doesn't want any single meaning for anything. It's never one-on-one. So she gives it to us, really, and by having our reflection in there, and then even by having the rough parts that stop the reflection, so that, you know, making us pause. You have those kinds of contradictions.
And there seems to be a psychological layering in her work. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if there's really some sort of hidden message in there with any of her works, but that they're just, I don't know. What do you think?
I think the messages are very visceral, really. I think in her mind, you know, when Rona was talking about, you know, how she makes things spontaneously without thinking it. Basically, as she's working on it, it's metamorphosing without a plan necessarily. And then basically the things she makes are about metamorphosis, and they metamorphose before our eyes because, you know, if we just shift even slightly, we're looking at something entirely different. I mean, the solid things are almost like liquid. And so it's sort of consistent that way.
So her work is really all about transformation.
Mm-hmm. And it's very visceral. You can see the transformation. Her emotions, the emotional impact is there, even though you have to read into it if you're going to do it. So she's not giving you a specific message. She's giving you a feeling, though. I mean, you look at some works and they're extremely vulnerable. You look at the work with the arm, you know, extended.
I think that's Wallaby, isn't it? Isn't it Wallaby that has the arm extended? Yeah. I love that sculpture.
And it's, you know, you can see that it's very poignant, and it's an assertive arm. The other thing about Rona's work, and maybe not as much in this show, but is that she really is a person. She is her work, and that's it. I mean, she demands that you understand it. She's in control. It's her world. She's all of her works, and she is what she does. She is her art.
So, like I had spoken with her earlier about how the creatures are her, And she basically agreed with that, that each of the creatures are a little bit of her.
Yeah, I mean, they are in her feeling and all. And, you know, in the fact in these things, you have beauty in the grotesque, the witty and the somber, the shapeshifters. And the thing is, they're shapeshifters, but in a very solid material. So I think that's a really funny contradiction.
So this is her first show in 7 years, I think.
Is it 6 or 7?
6 or 7
Yeah.
years. I think this is her first show. So
Her first
she's been away
solo.
for a while. She's back. This is a strong exhibition.
Yes.
It's very strong. I love it. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today here at Sauna Bend. Thank you so much for all of your input. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you.